when you're building a resume, you want it to get you interviews and get your foot in the door, but you also want it to be a document that functions as an interview cheat sheet. That's what a resume should do for you as well, is give you the confidence to talk about yourself too.
Y'all, you have no idea how much I've been looking forward to this conversation. Welcome to the Answer the Call podcast, where we help Christian professionals find and land jobs that they feel called to. Today I'm here with my dream team, my teammates that I'm so honored to get to work alongside. You, of course, know Audrey Bagaris, my regular co-host. But today we get to introduce you to our sneaky teammate that has definitely been a part of the Call's career for a little bit now, but hasn't made a podcast debut purely because I just haven't asked yet. So now's the time. Tim, welcome.
Thank you for having me. It's so good to be here. And I'm glad we found a reason to hang out again, all the three of us. So this has been great. Yeah, it's been
well, it's certainly the highlight of my day.
Yeah,
so.
For sure. Yeah, thanks for having me on. And yeah, thanks again for bringing me onto your team too. I've been being able to be exposed to all these new individuals with different backgrounds, and I can tell that you've worked well with them so far. It's been a joy working with everybody so far, including you two.
Oh. Stop it.
We love words of affirmation over here.
Yeah, we're big words of aff girls. Yeah. So thank you so much.
Same over here.
My goal for this conversation is really just to have a fun get to know you chat. I certainly, for the other podcasts that I listen to, I kind of enjoy behind the scenes peeks into like a team dynamic and who is on the team. So especially since all of our clients do end up getting to know you through the resume and LinkedIn writing process, let's just jumpstart that. And I also have so many questions about how you've navigated your career with, to me, like impressive leaps again and again, that I think that there's also just some advice in there.
Oh, so, yeah, for sure.
Can we kick it off just by having you share a little bit about where you live? What can you, for the record, share your last name? Your family, hobbies, things like that.
Yeah, for sure. And before I was coming onto this podcast, I was thinking, every time I coach someone before they're going into a job interview, I always tell them, I say, always talk about yourself for 50% of the time, but always make sure that whenever you say anything about yourself, you're following it up with how it is valuable to that employer and what's in it for them. So when I'm on this podcast, even though I'm going to be talking a lot about myself, I do want to try to give value to your listeners in any way I can and try to do that. So I appreciate.
You're a star.
Thanks for having me on. My name's Tim Ahlersmeyer. I live in Noblesville, Indiana, which is a suburb of Indianapolis. So I went to Butler here in 2017 and kind of lived here ever since. I live here with my wife, Brett, our 4-month baby boy, August, David Ahlersmeyer, Augie for short.
Augie, we're obsessed.
Yeah. And there's a lot of lessons taken from being a dad that I'll definitely get into as we go throughout here. But yeah, we live here. And then my mom and my sister, and then my other sister, they also live within 5 minutes of me. And I come from a family of 7, four siblings, 2 brothers, 2 sisters. And we had a very big family. Having 2 brothers helped me develop that competitiveness I have with myself now. And it's great. It's good to be living in a city that I'm close to my family. My mom and my sister actually live in the same neighborhood as me. So that's good child care to have close by, right?
You're living the dream.
Yeah.
Whoa. Okay. I love. Can you share a bit about your career progression story because I was looking on your LinkedIn and I was like, I just got to get the record straight. So you have gone from finance to sales to marketing to writing to podcasting and resume writing with pickleball on the side. And that, my guy, is a legendary career in my book.
Yeah, I've lived about 10 different lives and I just turned 30.
Yeah, for real.
So, it's been good. This is also something I tell people, whether they're a recent college graduate or if they're any age and they're making some type of career pivot, I think it's good to try as many different things as possible, especially earlier in your career, or especially early in a career pivot. And that's exactly what I did. So yeah, my first exposure to resume writing, like what I do now, is I was just helping friends at college get their resumes ready for internships. So that's kind of where I first like discovered like, hey, I'm good at this, and hey, I like doing this, because I would do it for free for someone else. So that would be the biggest thing I advise anybody on when choosing a career or going down a path, is like, choose something that when you apply the skills, it gives you both confidence and happiness when you apply the skill. So that's where I first started doing resume writing. And then I graduated in 2017. And then I kept on doing resume writing as a side hustle. So I didn't do it as a full-time thing yet. Or I was networking with people on LinkedIn, finding people, and I'll get into the strategies I did to do that. But my first jobs out of college, yeah, like you said, I worked corporate finance for a year, and then I worked outside sales for a year for a uniform rental company, and then I ran the marketing for a property management company. So as you can see, I really didn't know what I wanted to do yet with my career, but I wanted to try as many different things as possible, and I wanted to try to work in environments that demanded a lot of different skill sets from me, because that's the best way to learn what you're best at. So so I worked at those 3 jobs for the first like 3 or 4 years out of school. So kind of bounced around, and giving people affirmation that it's okay to bounce around after 1 year, especially earlier in your career. So so I was doing that, and I was doing resume as a side hustle this whole time. And then I quit my full-time job in 2019 and went all in on career coaching and resume writing. And since then, I've helped over 1,500 people, all the way from college graduates all the way through C-level executives, navigate the job search in any way possible, whether it's resume writing, LinkedIn profile building, interview prep, and just general job search strategy. Because what it looks like looking for jobs today looks a lot different than 10 years ago. So I also educate people on that. So
wow, you're whipping our butts over here. That's like a lot of people that you have helped. You're such a pro.
LinkedIn is a very big place. There's a lot of people on LinkedIn. That's how I built my business, was LinkedIn.
It's incredible. And well, this is, if it's okay, I have some unplanned questions.
I love those. Those are my favorite types.
Oh, perfect. So, what role did your faith play in the discernment of carving out a career that you really love?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And finding it.
Yeah. So just like now, any decision I make, I'd want my son to be proud of me for that decision. It's the same type of thing with God and my faith. And I feel like if I'm not in a good headspace myself, I can't be in a good headspace to help other people and do what God called me to do. And so I think listening to my skill set and listening to when do I feel happiest and when do I feel most energetic about going out and doing what God planned for me. That's really what guided me. And initially it was, I didn't know what career path I wanted, but I soon learned that God was calling me to just ask questions of people and learn about people outside of what their job titles are. And just learning about that, you'd be surprised at the quality of conversations you'll have with coworkers when you're working jobs like that. And I think that just kind of brewed and gave me the affirmation that I'm where I'm supposed to be. So, and that gave me the final push to quit my full-time job.
Which can be a scary thing.
Yeah.
So
Definitely.
I'm impressed that you did it.
Yeah.
What was it about resume writing that you love? Like, why was that so much more exciting to you than your other jobs?
Yeah.
I should say overall, like career coaching, because I know that you do. It's not just resume writing.
Yeah. I just enjoy learning about people and learning about their story. Because I know like you have a certain type of, there's a lot of IT professionals, there's a lot of sales professionals, but no one has the exact same formula of experience that you have. So I enjoy learning what makes people tick, what makes people unique. I like being able to help people overcome obstacles. I really enjoy a challenge of when someone's trying to move out of a job that is depriving them of something, whether it's work-life balance, more time with their family, getting paid for what they're worth, finding their meaning, and they have like another area that they want to transition to that's completely different. I enjoy working with people like that even more because I think being able to kind of overcome what may seem insurmountable is fun for me to do. And so yeah, no, I really just love working with people, and I also like the type of life that this has given me. So like because I do resume writing and run my own business, that allows me to have good work life balance and spend more time with my family, and yeah. So, and I'll get into it in a little bit, but during all this time, when I was working in corporate and transitioning out, I started a podcast on my own with a friend where we documented our journey from corporate side hustle to full-time business. And we interviewed people like professionals, doctors, athletes. So doing that too, like informational interviewing someone or like asking them questions and converting that into a tool that helps them market themselves in a professional context is very fulfilling. I like doing it.
That's cool. I obviously Audrey and I are we relate.
Yeah.
um, with starting your business in full time
Mm-hmm.
in 2019, I think you said. How were those early days
Mm-hmm.
of full time work?
Yeah, I would say scary at first, but I think the biggest thing for me was being able to now that I am in complete control of all 24 hours of my time, giving that like that reality setting in and being able to uh, tweak and tinker a schedule that worked for me and allowed me to um, stay focused and get the work done, but still enjoy life and have work life balance and do other things that help have made me a more well-rounded person. So I wanted to go all in on my business, but I wanted to make sure I made time for other things so that I could do other things. Because when I worked a job, when I worked for someone else, it was very tough for me to find time outside of work to do things that I like to do. And part of that was time management, but it's crazy once you have complete control of your time, how much better at time management you get because you have to find blocks for all those hours of time. So
Yeah, and design it rather than being aimless,
yeah,
which can be easy to do when at first you're like, oh, everything's open. Wow.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that was a challenge for me in the beginning. I'm glad that you now have time for your. I know I kind of talked. I dropped it a little bit earlier. Your pickleball coaching, don't you do that?
I do. Yeah, yeah,
That's so
yeah.
awesome.
Yeah, no, it's so fun. Yeah, and one more point before I go to the pickleball, one more point I want to make too that I just thought of about toughest thing when first starting out is being able to convince someone that I have enough experience to help them. Because that was a big objection at first. I was like 23, 24 years old. And a lot of people were like, what do you know about job search? Like, what do you know about careers? Like, have you worked in HR? Like, are you a certified resume writer? So I think at first, when I'd only helped just a small amount of people, being able to build credibility with people and get people to trust me at first with little to no experience was the biggest thing. It's easier now because I've helped a lot of people, but that's just a thing for people listening here is I think when you're applying or interviewing for a job where you don't have any experience for it, or maybe you don't have as much experience as the other applicants, I think what people value is not like how closely you align with their specifications or if you have the certifications, but like how willing are you to master the role that you're doing, or how willing are you to learn as much as you can about that other person or that other company or that other role that you're doing, and who can do that the best way possible and take it and run with it. Companies value people like that far more than someone who just fits the boxes but is just going to come in and just be okay with how things are and not have that learning mindset. So I think overcoming that challenge at first is because I didn't have enough experience or like credentials or certifications, I had to build trust with people in other ways, whether it's showing up to meetings on time, communicating written communication and email very clearly, doing what I said I was going to do, giving them free value, like reviewing resumes for free, putting time in and giving people value without expecting them to pay me. That was a big thing as well. And that's for job seekers. Like that's another way to go out and send people examples of your work. Take time out of your day to like provide value to companies that haven't given you the time of day yet. You never know who may take notice of that. So that's the biggest thing I took there. So
I'm really grateful that you shared that. Can you share examples of how you applied that to your job search and pivoting from, I think, finance to outside sales and then again
mm-hmm.
to marketing? How did you, how did you get them to give you an interview? Because
Mm-hmm.
I could totally see how what the advice you shared applies once you get into an interview to show
Mm-hmm.
that you're hungry, eager, willing to work hard, master, and you have all those soft skills that I
Mm-hmm.
think can definitely leap ahead of more technically skilled candidates that don't have soft skills
Mm-hmm.
or the hunger or fit for the role
Yeah.
as much as you. But yeah, how did you get people to give you an interview and a
Okay.
chance on paper?
Yeah, great question. So my first transition, corporate finance to sales. Wow, those are two different worlds. That was through relationships, and that's for job seekers who are going after roles that are client facing or relationship focused jobs. I would try your best to network and go the relationship route and find people who are your mutual connections with on LinkedIn and do that. That job transition to sales to get them to trust me, that was from someone who worked at the company, who me just going out of my way to ask them a question and asking them if they're hiring led to me getting an interview. So lesson there, use your connections and go beneath the surface level of a conversation with someone that you see on a weekly basis. Ask them questions. Like if you're on a job search, I mean, don't just go around like that's the first question you ask people when you see them, but build it into a conversation naturally. Like, oh, is your company hiring? How's your company doing? Ask roundabout questions to people that will eventually get them to talk about maybe hiring needs. So that was the first one. So when I transitioned from sales to running the marketing for a property management company, that was me sending them examples of my work. So
Yeah.
and it was actually me finding the decision maker on LinkedIn as well. So it was a marketing role where I had to run social media for my podcast. I was in charge of our Instagram, TikTok, Reels, putting our stuff on there. So so a lot of people are like, should I tell employers if I have a side hustle? I was very transparent up front with this company. I applied for the job on LinkedIn. I went to the company's LinkedIn page. I filtered by people and filtered all the people that have a LinkedIn that work there. I found the lady that was the district manager. I reached out to her. I sent her examples of my work from the podcast, and I followed up with a human being after applying. So that's how I got that job. So, and that's what I'd advise people to do is relationships. But LinkedIn is a very powerful tool to find decision makers. So whether the person hiring, someone who runs a company, yeah, there's company websites out there, and some company websites will give you people that work there. But in a job search, LinkedIn is a place where you can find any decision maker, any job title, anybody that works at a company, because most people have a LinkedIn. So,
That's right.
yeah.
Well, the cool ones do anyway.
Yeah,
So,
seriously. Yeah. It's a social media platform. We're totally cool for having
yeah,
one.
that's right. Well, you're a king. And everything that you said is like also what clients have heard us teach them, but like look at how it actually works.
hmm
And you didn't just send a hey, I applied, like can we talk?
hmm
Hey, what are you doing?
Yeah,
Text.
yeah, yeah.
But it was a
No D.
sample of work, which is incredible, and it gives them value and something to hold on to as an example of like, oh, this guy's interesting and he might really be able to help us. So yeah, I think some people are tempted to give up when they hear advice that they're like, oh, I know that I should use relationships, I know I should network or whatever, but do you have a good reputation with the people in your network? Have you done the things that you've said, like just be on time,
hmm
write emails, and proofread before sending,
hmm
uh,
Yeah.
be professional, sharp, and demonstrate clarity of thought when you're speaking? Do you have a confident, trustworthy demeanor?
Mm-hmm.
That's actually where a lot of deals are won or lost.
Mm-hmm.
And so I could totally see, just from the moment that I met you and the way that you communicate, which listeners can teach themselves how to sharpen their communication skills.
Mm-hmm.
I could tell that you were a person worth betting on. And for the record, you didn't apply to work with us. We reached out to you.
Yeah, it was great.
We're like,
I was so happy when I got your first message.
it
It was Audrey, wasn't it? Were you the first one who reached out? Yeah.
Yeah, I was searching on, because Kelsey had tasked me with our newest project, which was finding a resume writer.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, bet, I got this. And it was tough out there because so many of these certified resume writers are using graphics and Canva and all of these things that we were not looking for because ATS compliant was our number one thing. And so I had posted a job on Upwork and got so many responses from that. I was sifting through people. And then I just kind of started to think about our own process and the proactive outreach that we teach our clients. So I went to LinkedIn, looked up resume writer, and that's how I found you.
Nice.
And again, just from your LinkedIn and your samples on your website, which were amazing, totally in line.
The only ones that didn't obviously use ChatGPT. And Audrey, you were saying that a lot of the resume samples were actually looking the same. And so I think a lot of it is actually a scam because people are just using ChatGPT, which you could use yourself. So you don't need to pay them multiple hundreds of dollars or whatnot.
Right.
And then we were also looking for someone who had metric backed accomplishments in the way that you write resumes, because that's proven to work so much better than just like listing out generic responsibilities without examples of results you've driven through those responsibilities. And so the fact that you had that, I was like, we've won. I was surprised by how hard it was to find like a good person. And then I hope that actually encourages listeners that Tim just like takes the standard, the best practices in this industry and then actually does them. I don't think any of these things that I just shared are a secret of like, have good communication, do metric backed accomplishments, which if you listen to like pretty much any resume writing podcast episode, like on advice, it's like, hey, that's like one way that you could have a better resume. And you just actually did it instead of using generic ChatGPT examples. And then you were very obviously better than everybody else. And I think that is the case in a surprising amount of industries. I don't think most people are shooting for basic excellence. Hot take. No, but I say that actually, once I really started to see that in the workforce, I got very encouraged because I realized just by having well-written emails and learning how to speak up more energetically and these like small confidence cues, I could actually be better than most people. What do y'all think? I usually say the harsh thing and then I trust Audrey to kind of soften it up.
Yeah, it's absolutely true. And I completely agree with you that it is encouraging. And I remember thinking this back in school where I would do an assignment and maybe I didn't think I did my best or whatever it was. And I would get feedback like, this is phenomenal. Or I would show up to class on time. Or I would just do the basic requirements and they thought I was a really good student. And I look back, I'm like, I don't know if I was a good student actually. But I did all of these practices. I was respectful to my teachers. I talked to them maturely, all of these things. And it's the same thing in the workforce that a lot of people are not showing up. Again, like you said, Kelsey, with that basic excellence. And if you can take that and then just start with going a little bit of above and beyond with that, you're already going to be running ahead of the pack. And then you add going a lot above it and you're going to have people knocking your door down to try and hire you.
Right. And then maybe one day you'll be as cool as Tim if you keep on working.
No, those are great points. And even like people who are like, I don't know how I can make an impact in a role. I don't know how I can improve things. I think everybody can start from ground zero and just like, how can you improve your own role for the next person who does it? Like, you're not going to be working that role forever. At some point, you're going to get promoted or you're going to go take a job at another company. and there's going to have to be some type of knowledge transfer between you and the next person who does your role. That's something that everybody can do, is like create some type of framework or process or structure to teach your role to someone else. That's always a great place you can start, and then you can just build out from there. So those are great points by you guys.
And by you. That's one
Yeah.
thing that I'm surprised I hadn't thought of before until my husband said, like, oh yeah, I always am training up whoever's below me to replace me, like
Yeah,
from day one.
it's a leader right
And
there.
I thought, why? Wait, but it's like your job. And he's like, oh, yeah, I'm not like having them do all my work, but I'm showing them, I'm letting them into my process and how I do it. Because in 2 years, I think that my indicator of being a successful manager is having my replacement ready to
Yeah.
step into this role. Like I will have developed her as a professional and given her a rewarding experience and also improved her work product. And so I was like, oh, wow.
That's so ahead of the
I'm
curve. I
so
love
glad I
it.
married you.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's great. And that's a great point you make. People who are making a career transition to a management or leadership role and they actually haven't had any direct reports before, that right there is the very first question I ask. Like, have you mentored anybody? Have you taught someone else something that you know that they don't know as well? That's leadership. So that's good.
That's leadership.
Yeah.
I would love to close out with hearing a few stories, if you have them, of like
Hmm.
favorite client turnarounds or
Yeah.
success stories from these 1,500
Yeah.
people that you've served.
Yeah. I loved that question. Because that also reminds me when you're job searching, you can, and you're interviewing, like you can say all the nice things about yourself, um, but they mean way more and they're a lot more credible when they're coming from other people and other people can speak on your behalf. So that's why I always tell people, like, have a reference sheet, or like have three people, whether it's a manager, past coworker, someone who knows you, give like a 2 to 3 sentence quote about you as a professional, and like kind of have that. That's another extra thing that you can send someone. But yeah, no, these are good questions about success stories. um I'll do like, there was someone that I've helped from my own sphere, and then I'll do a couple from Called Career. But anytime I help someone make a geographical move, there was a guy who was he was from the Midwest, but he wanted to move down south to South Carolina. Actually, isn't one of you from South Carolina?
I'm in North Carolina.
North Carolina. Okay, yeah, he wanted
Mhm.
to go to South Carolina, and just being able to communicate and communicate why he was making that transition. That was fulfilling, because so he could be closer to his family. So just stuff like that. People that I've helped with you guys. So Todd, one of the people I've helped from Called Career.
Todd, shout
Yeah,
out to
he
him.
had a very proven track record of success as a consultant, a resume that was very detailed and a little long, because he's done a lot of great consulting projects. And so we honed it into a much more streamlined and concise document that he can use as he transitions to more formal corporate continuous improvement C-level roles. So now he went from a consultant resume to a resume that he can plug and play depending on what type of industry that he wants to go after in the corporate world. So I enjoyed helping him, and then Megan I helped. She was a medical coder and program coordinator for a healthcare business, and she wanted to pivot to supply chain. So we took a resume that listed her description and responsibilities and turned it into something that gave her the belief that she could make that transition to something that's completely different. Because that would be the advice I would give people. When you're building a resume, you want it to get you interviews and get your foot in the door, but you also want it to be a document that functions as an interview cheat sheet. You want to be able to have a sheet where quick bullet points that describe unique projects or examples that, when you look at your resume and you see that bullet really quick, just a quick 1 second glance, you can then be like, oh yeah, let me just talk about this for 3 minutes in this interview. That's what a resume should do for you as well, is give you the confidence to talk about yourself too. Because that's, when I first started my business, it was only resume writing, but I evolved it into, how can I equip people with resources to attack the whole job search process all the way through interviewing. So yeah, those are a couple ones, and yeah, always love helping people out.
Well, I'm sure that we could stay here a lot longer to have you tell way more stories because it's been a good run. Um, cheers to Tim. Thanks for being here on the podcast, on the team, for being a teammate as we serve alongside each other to help all these brothers and sisters in Christ hopefully get some better jobs this year.
Yeah.
And yeah, to hopefully also just relieve suffering. Like, I do honestly see our job as a way to relieve suffering that people have in endless job searches that feel like they're going nowhere. And Audrey and I have seen firsthand how the way that you rebrand them professionally helps materially get that done. So thank you so much, Tim.
Thank you again. It's fulfilling to do the work and help you guys out, and thanks again for the opportunity to bring me on, and thank you for your time. I know you guys are busy, so thanks for carving out your day to speak with me and bring me on, and hopefully your listeners got at least one valuable thing today.
Oh, for sure. I mean, at some point, we're gonna have to do like some kind of embarrassing team photo shoot together to get you on the website.
I look forward to that.
It does just look like a girls' party over here, but we're on the team now. Oh my gosh! Well, maybe one day it'll be fun.
Yeah. Well, thanks again, guys. Appreciate you.
Thanks for listening to today's episode. To get an even more meaningful head start into your calling, head to thecalledcareer.com, where my fellow career coach Audrey and I have created a whole suite of free resources and tools to help you get clear and get a job today. For those who are definitely ready to land a job or start a business in the next 6 to 12 months, we're here to help you biblically and practically discern your calling through coaching, reflection, and deep market research. Identify the job that's aligned with it, even if you currently have no idea what you want. Rebrand your resume and LinkedIn to translate your background to appeal to your future boss. P.S. We take this off your plate and do this for you. Also, we'll teach you how to land referrals and get attention from leadership through networking. Again, if that makes you nervous, we have these emails and LinkedIn messages literally written for you so you don't have to sweat. We're also here to give you unlimited interview practice so you're prepared to address every elephant in the room and knock selling yourself out of the park. Then we'll round out with helping you negotiate your salary so you land thousands more. Just so you know, recent clients have gotten $8,000 to $50,000 salary increases, even though they were totally non-traditional candidates. That's because we specialize in helping non-traditional career pivoters land jobs they're ecstatic to serve in. It takes work, but we're here to see you through until the end, when we're celebrating that day that you send me an email in all caps and you say, Kelsey, I got the job. Then you could be on the podcast. But I'll be here until then, keeping you accountable and encouraged by meeting with you literally until you land the job you want, even if that's up to 6 months from now within our program. Apply to join at thecalledcareer.com, and I'll see you next week here at Answer the Call. Bye for now.